Hey, all of you beautiful, sparkling wonders of the world out there. It's Wendy here once again with Raise the Vibe Initiative. And I have another incredible human to share with you all today. My guest from the show today is Miss Rebekah Renee. Not sure if you guys in the community already know her or not, but she's pretty amazing, and I really sort of think of her like she's just almost like a human angel. Um, I'm excited to really just like share with her today. She's a wonderful friend of mine, and I think we have a lot of similarities between the two of us. She and I have shared a little bit, and I kind of like asked her, okay, like, what's your story, right? And I think it's so great that she's like coming on to share with us today. She, I would, has said that from a very young age, she's been incredibly intuitive. She has been very open to picking up various energies, and she's just never really felt like she fit in. Going through school, she, just as hard as she could try, she just never seemed to quite fit. At 27 years of age, she had a near-death experience, and this really catapulted her gifts. She was very intuitive as a child. She spent a lot of time working with her intuition and learning how to kind of understand these, energies that she was picking up, and how to be in this world as an very enigmatic, energy sensitive child after her NDE, which she's going to share with us today, which is an incredible story. She really felt like everything just came on board 100%, for her. And she realized that she had come back with a lot of healing abilities, and it really catapulted after this whole experience. So I'm excited for her to share this and what that looked like, and what she experienced as a result of that. She has been doing amazing work in the world. She has been all over 50 states. She's gone and done talks in various spiritual communities about the healing. After she was brought back from her near-death experience, she regenerated and healed her body 100%. If you see this woman, she looks about 18 years of age, and I will not reveal her age, but she is like incredible. And I want to know all of her secrets. But she basically has, come back in, wants to share this with us all. I'm very excited to hear this. She has worked, in energy healing with various people. She has seen tumors shrink and disappear. She's worked with quadriplegics that have actually been able to regain, feeling in their limbs. She does not claim to be a medical doctor by any sense of the means. She is an energy healer practitioner, but she's obviously got some incredible things to share with us. And I am very excited to hear about this as well. So in just a moment, I am going to welcome you to my beautiful friend, Rebekah Renee. And just before we do that, I just wanted to do a quick shout out to our wonderful sponsor for today's show, Hornby Island Soaps. This is Super Cream. This is the cream that I use religiously and have used for quite some time. It is a organic olive oil based cream. It's got some beautiful herbs in it, some calendula, some rose hip. It's very amazing for any type of inflammation. It's just it feels like butter, and it just keeps you moisturized and looking your very best. As of course you are all very beautiful, but just to accentuate that beauty, this cream is, in my opinion, the best on the market. So if you have a girlfriend that you might like to get a beautiful gift for the holidays, or if you are a man and just like to look fabulous, I highly recommend you guys give this a try. You won't be sorry. You can head over to hornbyislandsoaps.ca and enter Super Cream 10 for 10% off your first order. All right, now let's jump into the fun stuff. Without further ado, please let me welcome you to my sweet, beautiful friend, Miss Rebekah Renee. Yeah, bear with us, please. There we go. I can see you. Okay, we're good. Yay.
Yay.
Awesome. All right. Well,
I'm gonna dim my screen a little bit. It is super bright. Okay.
I had already done a pre-recording, but because we've decided to stream onto Facebook, the full episode will be on YouTube, and I'll be airing it on the 22nd of November. Um, but we're trying something new, and we want to be a little bit interactive tonight. So I've got beautiful and amazing Rebekah Renee today with me.
Hello.
Initiative.
And sorry about that.
Just to give a little brief intro on this lovely girl. I was reading your intro. I thought it was really cool because you had mentioned that, even as a child, you kind of knew that you were pretty sensitive to energies and you sort of felt like, you just felt a little different. And I can totally relate to you because I think I can relate, you know. But do you want to tell us a little bit about what that was like for you?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Even just like say second, third, fourth grade, being being empathic, unusually empathic, just knowing things about people and not knowing how to manage it when you're like a really little kid is hard. Like sitting behind someone in school and like they have a bad life at home just because you read their energy at 9 and you're like, oh, I know this about him, like, and his dad's horrible, and you're just like, oh God, and you feel it, and you just feel their life, and you feel hear their thoughts sometimes. And even little things like in school, like, this one can't stand this teacher. You don't even have to make a face. You just know, you're just like in there and you're just like, oh my God, I'm in a room full of energy. But yet you're young and you can't vocalize it. And sometimes you just are like, okay, when I was one of those, I need to go to the bathroom 10 times, people, just to get out of the energy, not really understanding why, like, oh, I need to breathe kind of thing. And yeah, just being young and that was a huge thing. And then just like even like family members, like on my grandmother's side, they had 14 kids in their family. So I was unfortunately always like going to funerals and other stuff like that, and I'd be like, oh God, like, being empathic and young, it was like, get me out of here. So and feeling people's emotions, being that empathic is hard when you're a kid, I think. And at least when you're older, you kind of know what's going on if you're doing that, and you can somewhat adjust it sometimes, but yeah, that was a huge thing. Just knowing an inner knowing of, like, as a kid too, like if someone was if someone had good, reading vibes in general, kids in general, I think would have that, but just really knowing, like, oh, so and so isn't what they appear to be, again, the inner knowing of things, that years later helps so much with spiritual navigation. But and again, knowing sometimes if someone's lying to you or things like that. I definitely had all of those things going on. And and I would even have like adults in the extended family where they'd be like, oh, you're really smart, and it's like, and it's like, yeah, I see through you, right through you, kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I had those going on, and then just different things too, where I would go back into childhood memories and be like, oh, I was sitting outside, and looking back, it's like in that day I was in an altered state of consciousness and maybe couldn't find a word for it then, but just moving in and out of dimensions. I think I did that at a young age, and it was interesting because, now they just call them an ADHD kid, but just being in another universe half the time and trying to focus, and just like, oh, are you here? Someone, oh, are you here? And it's like, well, partially, but yeah, definitely I had those things going on.
Like the one foot in, one foot out. So just if anybody's just catching this now, because we're sort of doing this on the Rebekah is a divine healer. She does amazing work with people. She has been to over 50 states, talking with people and sharing her healing abilities after her near-death experience that she had at 27 years of age. So she was sort of born very open and very empathic, but I think you had said um, at around age 27, that was quite a significant point for you because even though you were quite open as a child, you actually did have a near-death experience and you did pass over at that point. And you said that sort of after that point, that you had noticed a lot of changes. So I'd be really interested in hearing about that experience.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, all the way going back to, I want to say it was around eighth grade, I had an inclination and intuition that I would do healing work. I didn't know how it looked. There were certain avenues I looked at, like, oh, maybe I'll be a psychologist or something more 3D or typical, and it was like, I knew that, like, I knew there was definitely wrong things in the world that, like, that didn't make sense. And I knew that I was somehow, I think my higher self or whatever knew collectively that I was going to be a part of that solution and be something different than, say, just like a banker or something in a 3D job. But I knew that there was going to be a deep meaning to my life, and I didn't fully know, but I knew it was going to do something with helping people and along the healer path. So that was right around age 14. But so forward up to 27. So yeah, so the near death experience. So and I'll tell a little bit about that again. So I was 27 and I had just had my daughter was my I had my older daughter was about 7 and my youngest was 2 weeks old, and I had just given birth to her. It was a very hard pregnancy. She was a large baby, and she came out, did not want to be born practically, but the cord was wrapped around her, and just she had to go in one of those tubes, and just certain complications. And then I had my tubes tied the next day, so I had just given birth and had a surgery, and then 2 weeks later, I'm doing laundry and my lower back starts hurting, and I was like, oh god, I gained too much weight with this baby, and my muscles are coming back and contracting, and it was my kidneys contracting because they were trying to shut down, and I didn't know it at the moment. I had a lot going on. I had a newborn, and it was in the middle of winter. I lived in a cold state, and tending to both my kids. So I I started getting a fever, and it spiked to 105. And it's like, oh God, that's pretty high for an adult. And I called, my stepmother's a nurse, and I was like, can you come over and like check me out? Like, just come over. I'm like, I don't feel good, and I'm sick with something. And she came over. We went to the emergency room. This was the first night, and what happened was I took 4 ibuprofen, 2 Tylenol, and 8 popsicles on the way there because I was shivering so bad from fever, right? So I get there and they're like, you have a UTI. I had a life-threatening kidney infection, but they're like, you have a UTI. And I'm like, no, I had 105 fever. Like, I'm really sick. And they're like, well, here's a prescription for, here's pills for Macrobid. And I'm like, this does not feel right the whole time. But yeah, they won't let me stay. So I go home, and honestly, I want to say it was around that time when I went home. I called the angel of death. She's appeared to me 2 or 3 other times when I could have like a crossover point. So 2 times when I like, it was like, don't go down this road, you'll be in an accident kind of thing. It's a very foreboding energy she has. So And I was like, oh God. And I was like, I know that I'm really sick, and there's and it was, I knew at the soul level, like this could be an exit point. So I go home and I'm like, the fever had gotten down to I think 103. And then I wake up, I surprisingly wake up the next morning. Surprising I just didn't like go into a coma. I was really sick though, like just like kind of at that point already starting to fade in and out of my body. Like I would wake up to go to the bathroom and I put on probably 4 blankets on me because I think the fever was spiking off and just lethargic and so dizzy and feeling horrible. And then the uh the next morning I luckily wake up surprisingly, and then um it's probably around 11 a.m. and my ex-husband went to work and my stepmother came back over and she made me something to eat and my teeth started chattering. And I said, my fever's going back up again. And she looked at me. We took my temperature again. It was like 105 point something. And I was like, oh my God. So we went and she's like, I'm making them admit you. She's like, let's just take all these with us. She's like, don't take ibuprofen. She's like, let's go. So we went, and in the meantime I'm in the hospital in the emergency room, and it's during the middle of winter. I mean, there was a motorcycle crash. It was unusually packed, and but I was in a room by then, and kind of no one's really checking on me, and there's crying babies. It's like total mayhem and chaos. So I I'm laying there and all of a sudden I could just feel my organs really heating up. I was starting to go into like what they call septic shock. And I she came again, when I call the angel of death, and sort of was in the corner of the room, and I was just like looking up, looking down. And then it was like that's when I started like really leaving my body, like sort of where almost like when people are astral project. And I came up and we started doing, my teeth were chattering at that point. um when they had checked it, they said my fever was like 106.3 or something. But I was literally like what they call delirious. I was totally delirious. So I rose out of my body, left my body, looked down at my body. It was really weird. Like I could feel my new baby I just had, and I like looked around and we started talking, me and this angel. And it was like, okay. And I was shown all my crossroads, and it was like, if you leave now, this daughter's probably going to commit suicide, and this one's going to hate living with her dad. And I saw everything, and I even saw my future path as a healer. Like, you're not going to fulfill all that. But yet I started opening up more and more into the light, into God. And I felt, this is the hard part, I felt the most beautiful, almost like seeing the face of God. And it's like you've been homesick for so long and you want to go home, kind of feeling. And it was like, oh my God, it was such a relief because I got rid of that sort of homesick feeling that I'd probably carried all my life. And it was like in an instant I literally knew probably everything about the universe, stuff that had always inquired about. I've always been inquisitive, like, God, show me the way the universe works. And I got that download in an instant, and it was just like, oh my God, just the simultaneousness of everything, and the all in all. It's hard to describe in a human word, but I knew that just different things that I'd been taught just about God in general were not true. Things that were scary about God or whatever were absolutely not true. And it was like I was perfect. Like, even though humans may be judgmental, in the presence of God, that far into the presence of God, there is no judgment. It doesn't care what you do. It doesn't matter, period. There's just, only you will judge yourself. But the presence of God was like magic, euphoria, and it was like, and it is, I understand why other people said I want to go, I don't want to come back to my body. And you don't, because it's like you just want to follow that light that's sort of pulling on you. And that was the hard part. And yeah, I honestly would, I mean, if it weren't for having like two small children, I definitely would have been out that door, because it was just too euphoric, too beautiful, too incredible, you know, without the density of that we go through being here. And no duality, no, none of that, no up or down, right or wrong, good or bad. It's just isness, you know, you just are, and you paradise, you know. So it was like, oh my God. But yeah, and looking in that, like, oh God, I'm gonna leave my kid. I had a hard time like abandoning, you know. It was like, oh God, it was like I'm about to abandon them and my body, you know. And it was like, um yeah. And I call her the angel of death. I was like, so what do I do? I was like, I think I'm gonna stay, you know. And it was cool because I had that choice. And and she was like, open your mouth, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And I was like, oh, I love that. so,
Oh,
so yeah. And I was like, it was just in talking to me in terms that I could understand, you know, as a human. So
so
immediately I started floating back into my body. And there were times throughout the whole process I was floating sort of in and out. It was like I was pulsing and phasing in and out. But I came back in, and I started what little life force was in my body. It was really weird. My stepmother happened to come back into the room. She was the only one with me, and she doesn't fully understand what I do. You know, I'm a little woo woo, but she said, I don't really see auras and stuff and all that stuff like you do. She goes, but if I could say I saw auras, you were completely gray. That's what she told me. Completely devoid of life force and gray. But but yeah, so I started banging on the bed, and what I had left in me. And then another nurse came in, and she clicked the thermometer in my ear, and she's like, that can't be right. And it was like, yeah, well over 106.3 fever. And that's at the point where I could feel like, even though I decided to stay, my body was still kind of resisting, and I could feel my organs just beginning to lose their life force, lose their life force. And I would kind of still float in and float back out, float in and come in back out. And then a doctor came in and a whole team, and they were doing the code stuff on me because my vitals were stopping. And again, they would like start me back up. And how do I want to say it? I looked down, I have like ice packs under my armpits, like on my thighs, like just anything to cool the temperature down. And again, and I would look at them, and like they would get blurry. And it's again a phasing out of coming back out and coming back in. And but it was interesting, as I was coming back in, I was bringing knowledge back in with me. It was really, really interesting. There were so many simultaneous things happening at once. But so I started to come back in a little bit, to the point where there was the nurse that was hovering over me, and she had blonde hair. That's when she made like a blonde joke. She said, don't worry, honey, we'll save your brain cells and all this stuff. And it was, I know she was trying to do a blonde joke. And something happened in that moment where, again, what little life force I had caused me to sort of like jolt, and I kind of jolted back into my body. My divine spark came came back in. And I knew at that moment my presence integrated back into my body. And I looked around at everyone, and it was just like, where the hell have I been? You know, I knew I'd just been on a wild journey. And the doctor looked at me, and he looked dead into my optical stems, and he was like, I'm going to give you a special solution and put it in your veins. And he goes, it's going to cool you down. And then they were running spinal taps because they thought I had meningitis. But yeah, I was septic, probably for days. I was septic, and then I was in the hospital for a little while, and then I had to go home and be on an IV into my arm, but it was done at home. But yeah.
that's crazy. So this angel that sort of like greeted you, I guess, like when you were kind of moving out of the body, did
hmm
they have like a form, or was it just like a light, or like was it just
Yeah, yeah, she was a light, but yet but yet not so much a form, but I knew what she was. And I knew that, how do I want to say it? I knew that we were gonna talk about decisions. Like it was a decision point. Like I knew she had a sort of, how do I want to put it? Her energy was sort of like letting me know how sick I was and how close I was to leaving the whole incarnation. And which, but there's so much stuff we talked about. It probably, I'd be on here with you for days, but just stuff my soul had been working towards, um just things that I had mastered. When you do that life review, and yeah, you judge yourself, like, oh, I could have did better here. I shouldn't have, I should have did this and I should have done that. You have a lot of your shoulds in there. But again, the judgment's not from God. It's your own self. Just kind of, giving an assessment of like how far you fell off of your plan. Like, oh, you didn't do so good right here. If we were grading you, you got like a C here, but you got an A here. And it was just like knowing all that. It's like it's quite fascinating. um and again, feeling how other people feel, like you get that too, like, oh, when you hung up on so and so, when you hung up on so and so on the phone, they felt horrible. And you can kind of really be everyone else that's been in your life and sort of have that perspective.
That's really interesting. Um, I've been listening to a couple like of NDEs and they're very interesting. And you did mention sort of like a life review kind of thing, right? Like that
Oh yeah.
uh and so what you're saying is like you basically can become one with all of that experience and like and then you're the one that's going to create your own heaven or hell essentially, right?
Literally,
Yeah.
literally, yes, yes. And it was glad to know, because stuff that was like religious programming that was not true, and it was like, oh God, how'd I fall for that business, like just knowing the truth, like about things, that religious programming that can have on you, fear mongering and stuff like that. And being shown that heaven and hell are states of consciousness, of course. You can have heaven on earth, you can have hell on earth, all in the same day, even, depending on your vibration. But yeah, just stuff like that. When I was little, certain religious people around me were like, oh, it's a place you're gonna go if you're bad, kind of stuff, and it's like none of that, none of that. So it was like, it was definitely something that changed my whole perspective on the divinity, the divine realms, and God. And again, the beautiful part is the unconditional love, because humans tend to love with conditions. Oh, if you think like I do, I will love you, or if you look like me, whatever. And yeah, it was so unconditional. It was just like, there's nothing you have to do. You don't have to change who you are. You can just fully like be yourself, and it's like, and in life, we don't always encounter that. So it was like, oh, I want to go with you, I don't belong back there with those people, kind of thing.
uh, wow. I'm just like trying to like integrate everything that you're saying. So you said like you kind of felt like you were getting graded or whatever, but I guess did you go back to like understanding what your soul purpose was at that point? Like that you
Oh
had
yeah. Yeah,
okay.
because time is like in a sense different there, not so linear. And yeah, and having already known about the healing path, oh my gosh, you're not gonna do that. You're gonna be so disappointed that you didn't stay to do that if you make this decision, You're, and all the lives that you're gonna touch, it's gonna be different. That's not, you're not gonna do that in form, in a body, because there's so much experience you can have in a body. um you're not going to meet so and so, you're not going to have this relationship, and all the stuff you would miss out on, and that could be very fulfilling to have in a human life. Not so much the negative stuff, but seeing, and the other thing you regret is missed opportunities is huge. anywhere like, oh, I had an opportunity to do something incredible and I either couldn't do it because I was too afraid. I was afraid to take the risk. I I was too worried about the outcome, and then so I just didn't do it. And it was like, oh, you could have had so much amazing stuff over here if you just would have done that. Seeing like your sort of like your timelines, like, your outcomes, you have this bird's eye view of some of your outcomes, and you're like, oh man, I screwed up. I should have called so and so, or I should have, and it's like you really, and it makes you think when you come back to life, you live more consciously, like even clients I'll have them like, like take that risk. You might regret not taking that risk for the rest of your life, and that missed opportunity that could have been incredible. Not everyone does, but yeah, it makes you aware of like to go for some things, even if they scare you, just go for them.
Wow. Well, that's such a good reminder, and I guess like how do we scale that? It's kind of like, whatever that thing that is that sparks your heart, right? Or your passion.
Yeah.
Want to lose that.
Yes. No, passion keeps you alive for sure. Definitely. Your passions keep you alive and give you something to hope for.
Mm. Wow, that's amazing. And I guess another question that I had, like, so I mean, obviously you came, like you had mentioned, you were a child that came in very open and
Very open.
like and stuff, and so there's different ideas in the community about that. Some people would say that they're like star seeds, or I always think they're like angels. They're like human angels. I believe that there are human angels on the planet.
Mm, absolutely.
Like, I don't know. I mean, there's different sort of terms, right? But or the indigos or the crystal children, or
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
these these people that are very open. I guess like us, we're both probably.
Yeah, yeah.
So, did you realize, like, when you were over there, like some would say that, I believe that we sort of, and I could be wrong on this, so this is great if you can clarify this for me, but I feel like we kind of um, come in, we choose our families, we choose a lot of our situations, whether they're positive or they're negative, um, in order for us to have soul evolution and to be able to learn what we need to learn to grow, or to evolve, so to speak, because Earth's not that fun all the time. It can be,
No. And
but
even if you think about it, even if while you're here and you set your own goals, like, oh, I want to be more patient. You can be sure as heck there's going to be people sent your way that are going to push the living daylights out of your buttons because you said that, or you're going to be gifted with 10 kids. You know what I mean? So like sometimes what we say, oh, I want to learn to be more patient, and it's like, and there you go, you get like 5 kids or something, yeah. Um, but yeah, and our soul plan, yeah, we vibrationally attract our parents, it's interesting. How do I want to say this? With like the attraction starts like even with me with both of them, but it was more with my older one. I could telepathically hear her and feel her soul before I found out I was pregnant. There's just something different in the air, and it was like the more I know a lot of it was on the higher levels, but there was an awareness, and it was like when that pregnancy test come back positive, absolutely zero surprise. It was like, yeah, I could feel her. We were making that communication prior to incarnation. I don't know if she remembers it. But yeah, so it's like
oh,
it's quite fascinating stuff. Yeah.
hmm. So, so if you could see, or no, actually, before I say anything on that, I can relate to that. I knew my children before they came. I knew,
Yeah, yeah.
when I was a teenager that I was going to have, I knew their names, knew everything kind of about them, which I find is really interesting. Um, anyway, there were other circumstances, but I don't really want to get into that too much. So, um, did you have a soul mission then? So were you able to kind of like see why you incarnated here?
Oh, at the time when I was crossing over, when I was like dead, sort of dying. Um, oh yeah, yeah, it definitely resparks your memory of things you forgot. Even little things like even little like soul contracts, like you see them, even though, you know, I can't say I fully remembered them for years after, but like, oh, you have an inner knowing, like I'm going to meet this person at this time, and I'm going to meet this person at this time, and my purpose is going to be with this. And then sometimes you meet them and it just falls into place, you know, and you're like, yeah, I was waiting for you. Like, you know, the whole soul group thing, they're very present as well. That's another thing I wanted to say. Your soul group, those that are here and on the other side, are very, very present. Of course, your family, your ancestors, things like that. Yeah.
Did you see any family when you
Oh
went?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And on my grandmother's side, there was they had a large family. Yeah, you know, and it's interesting because you realize the whole going through something like that takes the whole fear of death away, because you've already done it, you know. It's like big deal, you know. It's like water changing form. Like water can be ice, or water could be vapor, or water could be steam, but it's still water, you know. So when you understand it down to like the subatomic level, it's different. You're like, oh, I'm just dropping my density, my dense body, you know, but your presence is still very powerful with or without the body. Even though I didn't fully drop the body, it was quickly shutting down, but and shut down. But yeah, it's like yeah, it's interesting, you know. It's like you do get a sense of your eternalness and your timelessness, and it gives you a different outlook, like, okay, whatever, you know, like yeah.
So do you think that you did anything differently because you had that experience? Do you think it sort of
Oh, I do. I try to. I can't say I do it perfectly, but I try to definitely live each moment like it could be my last. And again, not everyone does that. They'll sit and, you know, oh, I'm gonna do this in a year, and you know, I'm gonna do this, and I try to push through all that, and just live like each moment. Like, who would I want to be with if it were my last day on earth? What would I want to be doing? What would I want to say to people? And I try, like, even if you've had a disagreement with someone, to like try to as best as you can, like fix it or make amends with someone, because that could be the last conversation with you have with them in their body, you know. And you can still work stuff out. Now that's the other thing, you can still work stuff out with souls on the other side, and a lot of times we do that. um it was funny when I was traveling, and we were on the road a lot. The person I was traveling with, he was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm having a telepathic conversation with my mother about something that made me really mad that she did at a certain age, you know. And he's just looking at me, and I'm like, yeah, we're resolving stuff, you know, because I knew I could do that, and we did. And the dialogue was very clear, very back and forth. And then I was like, oh, I felt something got released or healed, you know. So yeah, so and the souls on the other side as well love that as well, because sometimes it sets them free as well. Like, this was the other thing I was shown, they're ascending right alongside with us, they just don't have their density. So we're souls embodied, but yeah, we're all raising the collective consciousness together. So we have a partnership with them. We're working hand in hand with the afterlife, which is so cool, which is so, so cool.
Amazing. Well, I see we have a few people. Like, we have a couple of eyeballs. If you guys have any questions, like I'm trying to figure this out because we're like streaming it again. It wasn't planned. But I kind of wanted to give an opportunity if anybody does have any questions. Yeah, feel free to throw them out there. I'll keep an eye on it. Um, yeah, okay. Well, wow. That's just amazing. It's amazing to hear about these experiences. And I don't know what it's been
Mhm.
been coming to me lately, and I've been listening to a lot of people like talking about them. And
You know, and it's interesting. Everyone's experience is kind of different, and some people are like, oh, I saw Jesus. I didn't so much need to have that happen with me because I always feel he's with me. And it wasn't, I need to make a presentation to you, you're here. I never like have never felt without him. So it was like not something like Jesus had his arms open or anything like that. I've never felt a disconnect from, say, Jesus or other light beings, the angelic realm. Other than her, the angel of death, but her energy was, I want to say stern, but it was very like, we need to talk kind of stuff. And I like it when they can communicate with humans on a level they can understand. A lot of times they'll just communicate in frequency and we have to interpret it, but it was very like sort of like matter of factly, like yeah, we need to talk, like but yeah.
yeah, that's amazing. I mean, how is it coming back from something like that? Like,
Oh, well, the wild part was my body was weak for almost a whole year after that. And I also had had a newborn baby. I still had to come back and take care of. And when my help left, it was like, oh God. And then she had colic after I just went through this. That year, what I want to say was hell year. I was like, okay, I made it through that. I think I'm surviving this year, but I had to take care of a very a highly sensitive newborn baby and a 7-year-old. So it was quite a challenging year, but as they got older and over time, and then I started developing my gifts and my body started regenerating. Um, Year after year, it started regenerating to the point where I not only my body completely healed and regenerated, but I also started healing other people and had a surplus and an extra amount of energy. And yeah, and just being very, very, but you are after that, you're very connected to God and source energy in a more intimate sort of way than maybe someone who isn't connected that way. And you just know that God is with you, and when like someone is saying something, you get a better discernment that isn't true according to the spirit. You get a discernment like, okay, they're saying this. It's just not only that it won't resonate with you, but it's like, that's absolutely not true about God. It's kind of thing. You get to know God so well that you know who it is, he, she is both masculine and feminine, which that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother conversation about the patriarchy, making
yeah,
God a male,
yeah, and
when
that's,
God has,
I think we should look at
yeah, we should, yeah. Which
that.
that I think people are gonna see shift as us females as God's creation, created by our creator in the likeness of our creator, shows you our creator is part female, right? And that we are gonna move in the power of our creator and balance this patriarchal thing that's ready to shift. It is shifting, but it's like, yeah, we're here to do that. So it's kind of an exciting time, although it's tumultuous.
Definitely. It's not an easy mission.
But it was interesting after that too. It was just like, even like, I don't know, if I would encounter a more religious person, you shouldn't do that. Oh, one time I was just telling someone this. I was guided to take an ancestral healing class. Um, it was in Rhode Island, and it was incredible, and it was all spirit led. My guides were telling me the whole time, like, go, you're gonna have something amazing happen. You're gonna heal stuff for your ancestors. And I had this lady, this religious lady tell me, oh honey, that's the work of the devil and all this stuff. And it was like, okay. And I went to my class. It was one of the best things I ever did. And but it just gave me, it even more enhanced my ability to know that what someone else thought might think is right for me is, that could be on them. I became very clear of like my own path and how to discern it, and how to walk it. And yeah.
So So that I guess leads me to, I mean, obviously then you had a very personal journey in relation to your soul and your family. Did you happen to see anything about the planet as a whole and what we might
Oh,
be
yes,
seeing?
yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, just I want to say the levels, which is another reason you don't want to come back after that kind of experience. The levels of paradise that we could attain, those kind of paradise frequencies that are literally above and beyond anything we could ever imagine or dream. Like even the love from like the love that you get from the angelic realm, from other high beings of light, it's almost like, so you almost can't stand it, when some of them come, especially sometimes they'll come through in healing, but really strong in an experience like that. um it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I was shown the vibrations we could attain here, and how do I want to say it, um and be in a 24/7, although we don't technically have time, paradise where nothing can go wrong. Our thoughts are what we create with. So where nothing can go wrong, we can't create, we don't create wrong because we don't think wrong, because our thoughts are so much higher. They're centered in love. So we don't create fearful things anymore, because it just doesn't, we just don't think it.
Is that going to be attainable? Do you believe in our lifetime? I mean, I kind of already
Yeah.
that. I mean, if I'm in a high vibration, I everything around me is very beautiful. Like
Yes.
I've seen,
Yes.
I feel like I have experienced those experiences, and I've been in this state where I'm like, wow, we could like be growing our own organic food, and we could be doing this, and we could
Yes. Yes. Could you
would be
hold on
like,
for 1 second? I have a knock at the door. I'll be right.
okay.
Okay. Sorry about
Yeah, like just oh, okay. We do have a couple of things here that we'll get to in a minute here. Thanks, guys, and I will get to this in just a sec. Um, I feel like we could be totally experienced. I've experienced it myself. I know that I've got the blueprint inside me to unlock it within my own experience. Hopefully, that is part of a collective experience, which I believe it is, because we're all part of the collective, and everything that we're, doing is affecting that, sort of collective vibration. So yes, I do understand that there is a lot of dark energies, and that's something I teach in my coaching about vibration and
that.
how to
Yeah.
really, right. um but I know, I 100% believe we can achieve it in this lifetime. And many people are like telling me, well, it's not going to be this lifetime. Maybe you guys are like the forerunners, and you're paving the way for it. And I'm like, no, 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 no. No, no. I do
Yeah.
believe that be achieved in our lifetime
Yeah.
about that.
I do too. I do too. I feel like some of us may, they call it the fifth dimension or whatever. Some of us may like fully lock into that really soon, actually, because we need to be there to help other souls shift into that. And again, there's no fear in the fifth dimension. So, I have a big thing where like if I don't know, someone's wanting me to be fearful about something, I don't buy into it. And and there's two things. A soul that like is vibrating in fear, or like, say a lower frequency or darker, if you beam your brightest light at them, they're either two things. They're gonna shift and join you in your light, be like, oh God, you got the good source light, like it's incredible, it's like a high, they're gonna want to join in that high with you. Or sometimes your light, when you're starting to shine so bright, it absolutely can trigger people and bring up their fears, that they already have, and shine that light on them. But yeah, sometimes there'll just be, the saying, the darkness hates the light. So like I'll give someone I lived with years ago, I used to have several people come over and we would meditate and raise our vibration really high. And he'd be like, he could feel our energy fields. We'd have them so bright, and he'd be like, "You're kicking me out of my own house. No one said anything. No one said you can't stay, but he felt vibration. It was the light we would generate was so bright that it was he couldn't stand to be around it because he had some issues back then. But it was just like just some addiction issues, and all of us were pretty clean living, so it was just like it scorched him, so it's like, but again, we have to keep going into the light, and
And
increasing it.
well, I think that's interesting, again, like on a smaller scale, but then also if we look at it from like a global perspective of what we're sort of seeing in the world right now, and I think that many of us are here working on our vibration, or maybe, like I think of us as like these little energy devices that are placed in, different
Yeah.
spots. Um, but we obviously, I had to go through my shadow work. It wasn't
Yep.
pleasant.
It's a constant process. It really is.
It is. It's consistently going on, and I think a lot of it was ancestral. A lot of it was like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
to take on quite a bit and transmute quite a bit. I believe in
For
this.
them, yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I look at it as I kind of say, okay, like it's not a pleasant thing to go through, but in order to get to a higher vibrational state or to raise you do have to look at the shadow. You have to look at it. You have to be like, okay, there it is. And
It's not me. I think that's the thing, knowing that you're not your dark side, you're not your remembering who you are, that you
mhm,
are of the light, and we're in a polarized time, right now. That was another thing I saw in the new earth. Yeah, again, the fifth dimension, there's no polarity. So
yeah, well, I mean, that's the third dimensional frequency
yeah,
reality, of
yeah,
course. But
yeah,
back to my initial point is like, okay, well, I think we're sort of seeing the shadow work of the planet right now, because I
yes,
the light vibrational frequency is increasing a lot on the
yeah,
but all these little energy devices is what I like to call them, like all over the place, doing all this amazing work. And so there's one side that's going whoop, 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 and that other side is going, okay, we got to look at the shadow, right? We got to look at the
yeah,
and it's interesting when you look at it from that perspective, because I really do feel like the earth is doing that work as
yeah,
well.
yeah, totally,
Did you
totally.
get any messages in respect to that when you were
Oh, yeah, again, that it's already done. We're just aligning in vibration with it. But yeah, the people that are all the world's ending stuff, we bypassed that a long time ago, and it's already done, and our thoughts, our energies helping to create the new earth, step by step. If we like fully went into our light body all at once and dropped all the density and shadow at once, we would fry up, like would totally short circuit and fry up. Um, but yeah, we're increasing, we are dropping our density, we're going more into our light body, we're ascending with her, which is really, really awesome. And again, some people can't keep up their bodies, the light is too strong for them, and they've chosen, to go or whatever. But those of us that are really tethering in that new light, it's like a we've never done this before kind of thing, and it's incredible because the more light you hold, those higher love frequencies you can attain, and they're pretty euphoric sometimes, so it's like it's worth it, but it's hard, dropping that density and heavy stuff is hard. But but in the end, after I go through a purging period, I'm like, oh my God, I feel so light, I feel like a feather. And then you get the problem of your center of gravity is different. So you're like, okay, now I actually kind of have to stay in my body a little bit and function in this third dimension. But feeling light feels so good, and it's like,
but but like I go through clearing like stuff all the time. So I go through times where I feel amazing and really light, and then I go through like my dark is dark.
yeah,
You
mine is too. Mine
know,
is too, absolutely. Yeah.
and it's like, well, I don't want to get too much into it, but I mean, I guess again, it's realizing that you got to take all aspects of it and understand it as one aspect, and
Yep,
it's
yep.
that
Yeah,
different.
no, It can, and even some people, they're like, I've met, they're like, oh, I want to do healing like you do. The more light we hold, the more power we bring through, the more divine energy we harness. And I'm like, "Mm." I'm like, do you really want this mission sometimes? I'm like, do you really want to like go through what I went through, like at this point in my life, or at this point? I actually went through a period where I couldn't get out of bed for 6 months. That's I just God decided to I was in my 40s. God, and I felt like I was dying, although I wasn't technically dying. I just went through such a purging that I almost couldn't function, but I dropped lifetimes of pain and suffering for myself and my family. And it was just like, even my skin broke out. It was a total metamorphosis, death and rebirth. But I came back and my abilities were like, whoa, this is so cool. Like my energy's so strong now. But at the time I was pretty sure, I'm like, am I gonna survive this? It was like the energy come in so strong, and the currents of electricity that went through my body, I didn't feel I could handle at the time. Now I'm like, yay, bring it on. But I still have a moment once in a while when there's a big solar flare, and I'm like, oh God, I feel like I'm being electrocuted kind of feeling, just from that energy being so strong. But yeah, I've told people, I'm like, are you sure? Like, yeah, I want to do like stuff that you're doing. And I'm like, like, think before you sign that contract, like.
Because you know what, I mean, the stuff that we've signed, I don't know, personally, wow, like I don't think anybody would really want to have to deal with a lot of that. I'm not gonna lie. It's
Hmm.
not fun.
I
It's really challenging.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But and then it's worth it too, right? Like it's
it
kind
is worth it.
too. It's like it's really hard to have to look at these things, but once we can integrate it, and I think it's always about going back to source, right? Like
Yes, yes,
integrating that we are that one thing, and so we can like let it go. But when you're
yeah,
and you're living a human experience, it's and you're holding the dense body and all of that stuff, it's like it all kind of gets stored in there, right? And then also then you're
yeah,
ancestors and like what's happened prior.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I teach cellular memory healing. So it's like, yeah, the cells hold memories and the organs hold memories for sure. All of our traumas, and yeah, and that's like how we look at the world, through like our own, looking through a lens. But luckily, as we raise in vibration, that lens can shift, but yeah.
yeah, I think, as I guess to your point when you said like, I mean, I have had times like that where definitely like, I mean, I had to take long breaks, long rests, right? Like,
Yes, yes.
and it seemed like it was really, really dark for me. And I remember one day,
Mhm.
I can't do this anymore. Like I cannot. And then it was like right at that moment that it was like it shifted for me because I had gone in and I had looked at it to the point where I didn't want to look at it anymore, but I had
Yeah,
and then it kind of it resolved itself and then it's almost like okay, you kind of raise that octave and so I think the same can be said for humanity almost as a whole, and I'm getting pretty deep here, or like the planetary, energy. It almost has to kind of go through that little resting point where you really got to look in, and it's really not pretty. It really hurts,
yeah,
really.
yeah,
But when you're able to kind of look at that, um, I think that a lot of people can say, okay, this is I don't want to look at this anymore. We need to shift this. We need to change. We need
yeah,
to evolve. So I mean,
yeah,
I'm pro humanity. I'm like,
yeah,
let's do this. We can do this, right? Um,
yeah,
but yeah, and I guess that's kind of an interesting thing about being human and being, a part of this whole experience is that like you said, when you'd passed over, there's no there's no duality. There's none of that. So how
no,
always wondered about that. How would you be able to learn? Because if you didn't have anything contrasting back to you, you know,
yeah.
it, I guess you really, I mean, how would
We'll
you?
eventually be there too. I've been in those non-duality states. A lot of times it's another person who'll try to drop me back into duality. But I've been in those, you know, and in those states, there's no left or right, there's no up or down, there's no right or wrong, there's just you, God, and love. It's just the total unity. And when all you experience is that love, you don't know anything else but that. In those moments when you're in that fifth dimensional consciousness, you are, it is the pre, what they would have called the Garden of Eden, where they didn't know, they didn't, I'm using symbolically, eat from the tree of knowledge of right and wrong. You go back to that innocence when you're in the fifth dimension, and there you don't even think about what's right or wrong. You just feel love. There's love in God, in you, in unity, and everything's beautiful in paradise. That's how you know you've attained that fifth dimensional state. Those thoughts aren't even there, and again, the colors get brighter, and everything's beautiful, you know, and magic. You see the magic everywhere. It is like, and what would be, I've never done LSD, but what would sound like a nice trip or something, you know, you see through a different lens in that dimension, and you just flow with spirit. You don't so much use your mental faculties. You just flow. It's a beautiful flow, like a river, and that state of consciousness, you know. So yeah.
I always say it's like I sort of think of it as like coming from the head into the heart, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can move that energy and open that heart chakra, right? And really be open to coming back to basically divine truth,
Yeah.
right? And that just comes through you. You're no longer in the ego. That
Yeah.
is kind of, I think, a big way, a big, you know, way in how you're going to witness the world, your experience, all of that.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yes, and oh, also, you know, in the years after that, you know, it's something wild about, you know, at that point of being near dead at 27, I technically should have had a ton of organ and kidney damage and probably been a vegetable from that kind of high fever. And not only once I really started harnessing divine energy for my healing mission, it was interesting. I still, you know, I used to eat a lot of spinach, and I got a few kidney stones, and I had one like, I want to say 3 years ago, and they did labs on me, and the doctor was like, I don't understand a lot about Western medicine a whole lot other than what I learned in massage therapy school, but he's like, you have the kidney function of like a 20 something year old. And I was like, and he knows I do energy stuff. And I was like, yeah, it's what I do, you know. I was like, but and I was like, dang, it just, that there, it was just mind blowing to me, because I should be like a full resurrected body in a sense, you know, over, even though it was over time. And it's like incredible. And that showed me as to also not buy into the mindset that you have to age and that you have to die and get arthritis in your 50s or 60s and walk with a cane. Like, it is a mindset, and once you like shift to that mentality, you just expect that you're either going to halt aging or even go backwards, which is another cool thing that happened as I progressed from that near death experience and into like my healing mission, and learning about divine energy as well, that an energy doesn't age or die, and that's really all we are, you know. So it's like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool stuff. It's
I
cool
love that.
stuff.
Actually, when I saw you, I was like, you look so young. And anyway, but I think I agree with you. And like, you know, I like to swim in the morning, so that's something I do every day. And you know, I have a sauna like every morning, and I do my like meditation and whatever. And I'd be like sitting in there, and I always feel like I'm 25. Like I really
Yes.
aged like I don't know, like that. I feel like my spirit's like that's the age of
Yes,
my
me too.
yeah. And so I like I will go in there, you know, and I'm talking to people that are like my same age. And
You're like, what?
their aches and their pains and their this and their that. And they're like, how are you? I'm like, I'm awesome. Like I'm getting younger every day. I don't know what you guys are
Yes. Yeah, what are you guys talking about? I know. I
doing.
know what you mean.
is when we start realizing that we are manifesting everything we're saying too, right? So if we're like saying,
Yeah,
I'm old, or oh, I'm sore, oh, I'm tired. Well, then you're going to start experiencing more pain, more tiredness, more, you're more aging. I think honestly, if you get up every day, and I just feel like I want to fill myself up with like life force energy, and I
yes,
just be very grateful, for the day. I spend a lot of time like forest bathing and doing things that like
yes, yes.
good. I don't feel the aging process. And like I think now I feel a lot younger than I did even 10 years ago, which is
Me
very
too. I actually say that. It's funny. I say I feel better than I did in my 20s and even early 30s. I technically really feel better. And technically for a lot of people they would think that should be the opposite way, like I even I I have a belly dance group. It's they're 5 minutes from my house, so I like, and it's great exercise. But they go to drumming circles, and we went to a drumming circle in a place called Safety Harbor at this little hippie center. And my friend and I were just barefoot under the stars. We were like dancing for 2.5 hours, and I was just like, dang. And she's in her 40s, her late 40s, and I'm like, we have the energy of like 20-year-olds sometimes. And again, there's times when the energy's high and you have to rest. There are those times, on this path that we could sleep for days, but when it integrates and you get that life force into you, it's just like, oh my God, I could do anything.
Yeah, I do feel like there are times when I know that it's resting time too. But I just honor that.
Hmm.
I go, "Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's part
Hmm.
of how we heal and how we, you know, do all these different things." And as far as the belly dancing goes, I would really want to visit you guys and do that with you because I
Yeah. We have a women tribe. It's like a gypsy soul tribe. I love it. We have actually a lady that's 68 there. We have like all ages and everyone kind of just clicks, and it's great exercise. It's fun and the dressing up is fun. Yeah, we have a blast.
oh, I love belly dancing, and I like look at the women that are doing it, and it's so beautiful. And
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I looked at you and I thought, gosh, who is that beautiful girl? And then, when you told me, like, you're so sweet. Like you are like definitely like a human angel, I think. And that's why I was like really excited to sort of connect in with you because
I think you are too. Absolutely.
yeah, and it's just like it's so nice for you to like share this experience. Like my vibe is like it's high right now after, you sharing kind of that. I think, for me, I feel the other side as well, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
pick up like five white feathers like every single day. Like they're around my house all
Hmm.
the time. And I'm like, okay, well, every time I look at a license plate, it's like a triple number. And it's like, it's
Yeah, I
like
know. I know. Oh my gosh, I know.
living your life. It's like synchronicity. But I will say that there is a deep longing that I feel like, I feel a connection to the other side, but I recognize that I'm very physical and I'm
Yeah,
unable.
and we still keep a part of us tethered to that other side, always. Which is kind of cool to know. It makes you think of yourself as a very extended being. We think in terms again of duality, up and down, that heaven's up. So it's like, but there's a part of us that are connected to that is connected to the other side that also can give us information while we're in our bodies, which is really cool as well. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So to sort of, I guess we'll, talk about some of the work that you're doing. I know that you've been all over the place. You've been all over the world. You've been to 50 different states talking about the healing work. I know that you have seen cancers and tumors slow right down, or like I
Mm.
think like leave the body, shrink, and paraplegia.
Yeah, those aren't as common. They're like the body, because the body vibrates slower. Sometimes normally something like a tumor or cancer may take a little longer, but sometimes you get those miracle ones where that density will drop quicker unexpectedly, maybe in like 1 or 2 sessions, and someone will be like, "Oh my God, either my tumor shrunk or it's going." You're like, oh, that's one of those like kind of miracles where you're just like, wow, like, wow.
So what kind of work do you do? Like, are you doing like Reiki, or like are
Um,
you just,
I teach integrated energy therapy. I've been doing that for a long, long time. It's like Reiki, it's energy healing. Your palm chakras are open. But your hands become sort of magnetic, so you literally pull out from the auric field. After you energize the body, you'll pull out negative cellular imprints that are in the body, in the energy field. So it clears the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual layers of harmful cellular memory imprints and traumas that we hold in our organs and our body. For example, like you might pull fear from the kidneys, you might pull anger from the liver, gallbladder, uh, powerlessness from the stomach and adrenals. Yeah, so it pulls those out and then reprograms them. The angelic realm. So if someone releases guilt, they'll get reprogrammed with innocence, which vibrates higher. And some people think, oh, I if especially spiritual people, especially stuff that comes from religion, to guilt trip you, I'm just not even worthy to be alive, which is absolute bogus. um but stuff that has been imprinted into our generations, and people actually believe that, and then you get those imprints that may have come from our ancestors as well, and it releases them, and then we, because that's not a high vibration. Shame isn't a high vibration, and things that humans feel, for whatever reason, circumstances, people have told them about themselves. If we only knew how truly magnificent we are, we would never think how God sees us. God sees us as like the most beautiful, gorgeous beings of God's creation. But humans are see stuff different. Family members might, get those, you have those imprints from life experience, and it removes those. So anything that's not love, it helps to remove.
yeah. Yeah, well that totally makes like so much sense. Like I think I sort of teach, I do more coaching. I do a little bit of energy work as well.
Yeah.
We all kind of have different modalities, but what I'm trying to teach people is like, okay, where's the vibration now? Is there a limiting belief that's holding you there? Okay, let's look at that. Where did it come from? Is it true? Is it untrue? Are we able to release that? And then we can kind of move into the next vibration, essentially, right? So,
Yeah.
like, I think it all works together, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
just different kind of forms of that. Um, I went and had a qigong session.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Dean, he's going to be on the show coming up. He's like a medical qigong practitioner, and I thought that was a really interesting modality as well. Is that sort of similar? Do you feel like because I think you're working more with the
Yeah,
field.
moving with the energy. Yeah, with the field. Yeah, definitely. I've learned a few techniques. A friend of mine used to do it as well. Yeah, I've actually heard of a qigong practitioner that was in Florida once, and
Mhm.
they literally could use their field as, I don't want to say, not a weapon, but as a block to something, like they could, and it was created from love energy, but they could literally block someone's hand from like going through different things from their field. They had built up that much chi energy. And it was incredible to hear about it, just they had like a fortress around them that was so powerful and strong to push anything out that wasn't good. And we can do that too. We can create, like, I actually, like when I was little, when I was saying I used to be like an empathic sponge and internalize everyone else's stuff into me, and then you get sick from that. To whereas my healing now, unless I'm really tired or there's something really, really going on, or I'm sick, which is rare, but where your field pushes out, and so instead of empathing their business, your field will actually transmute all their stuff just by your presence. Even you don't even have to send them healing or direct it to them. And that's the thing, like when we create those kind of strong energy fields, um you know continuing to tune into God, bring that God energy into ourselves, bring our higher selves in, and then allow that strong field. It will push, again, it'll vibrationally push people out of your lives that aren't supposed to be there, but it'll push, like, it protects you. It literally does. Your energy field protects you. Like if you're vibrating in such high love, and you're going down the street and there's like a robber, they're not going to be able to touch you because your field is literally a force field. And I was even shown like some of us eventually could generate enough energy that we could knock over a whole football team full of big men, like we're just tapping into our powers. We're just getting a little taste of how powerful we truly are. Like some people think they're so powerless, but that we actually, our abilities, and again, to bend reality, to bend, my grandmother could always do like the bending a spoon with her mind, which I thought was really cool. But um yeah, just to bend reality itself. And we're really realizing our true power as that divine spark in a body.
Yeah. That's interesting. Again, going back to vibration, like I really like Stephen Hawking's scale of vibration.
Mhm.
Looked at, you probably have.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so you know how it shows like basically all of the different sort of emotional states, and then like what the vibratory scale would be. So for example, let's say like fear is like, 20, and then you get into like shame,
Hmm.
and then you kind of get into that neutrality zone, and then you kind of go up and up and up and whatever. And the highest is enlightenment, but even if you're around love or joy or acceptance even is great. Where he explains in the book that it's like most people would be running at, let's say, maybe like a 200, right?
Yeah,
And then you have a few people up here that maybe are vibrating at a 6 or 7 or an 8, or I mean,
yeah,
I've never met anyone at a 10, but maybe some people
yeah.
working on their vibration. And he says, like, somebody, let's say, that's vibrating at like a 3 or 2,
Hmm.
they can't affect any, the vibration itself is not able to really affect anything else, because it doesn't
Yeah,
charge, right? Where somebody may
yeah.
like 500, 600, well, that vibration alone can affect about 1 million people. Just holding a vibe. Your lights are going crazy. They've been going crazy the whole time. I'm like, somebody's with you today. I was I've had that been happening lately too. It's really weird. But
Have you ever blown out a light bulb with your energy before?
it's
That's an interesting one.
like a lot. And then I get in the car and the car is like flashing and I'm like, it's haunted. Like, anyways.
Street lights, have a
That's
street light just pop, especially when I'm really happy, like extremely ecstatically happy. And it can go either way, but I've popped, and not lately, but it's happened a few times in my life where I've just popped a light bulb and I'm like, wow, yeah, our energy. And then, they say if you're angry, like really angry, like don't drive when you're angry. You could cause car accidents. Like literally, we have that much power in ourselves that people don't realize. If I like am in a car with someone and they're like getting upset over traffic because it's really busy in Florida, I'm like, save it till we're parked. Like, don't create an accident.
yeah. Well, mention that because I think you a message about that like last week or something, because after you and I had like connected, then we were talking and stuff, and I was like sort of picking up your vibe. And then I have another guest that's going to be coming on, and he's like the Infinite Intelligence founder, and so he did like this meditation thing with me, and then all of a sudden, exactly that, the lights, and it was freaking me out because everywhere I was going, it wasn't like in one room, it was like in every room. And then I stopped at the gas station and it was like the gas station light was doing it, and then the bank machine was doing it, and then the car was, and I was like, okay, like I was starting to get a little nervous because I'm thinking like, it kind of scared me a little bit actually, because I haven't really experienced that before. But anyway, I mean, I just thought it was really interesting, when we look at the vibrational scale and we see the kind of way that energy is harnessed and what it can do. It's like if you go back to that scale where you look at somebody who's vibrating
Yes.
and it's like so small, and then you look at somebody that's like vibrating in a love vibration and it's like so big and expansive.
Yeah, expansive. Yeah. Or when someone's fearing about something, they'll constrict, their energy will like get real tight and just like, And then it's
Yeah.
like, it's funny. I actually had a client in another country one time. This was so funny. And I helped unconstrict her energy field. And I felt her expand to be like as big as probably the whole city or something. And it actually scared her. She goes, I'm not used to being that big. And I was like, let's try to pull you back in a little bit. Then it was the cutest thing though. But she was so expanded and realizing that she was so much more than her little body, that she was a big energy field. And yeah.
Wow. You're like incredible. I hope that maybe one day, do you do online work?
I do.
You do. Like the light is just going crazy behind you, but it's been doing it this whole time. It was initially on your throat chakra for like the longest time.
Speaking too. Yeah.
And now
I
it's
know, formulating like what do you want to say, I like didn't have any notes. I was just like, I had what that kind of day. I had clients all day, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do my hair for the show and get ready. And I come in and I'm like, my Zoom wouldn't work on my phone. I'm like, okay, we're just going on. Like it's all good.
let's roll with it. Well, I mean, I'm so glad we did. I hope we can do this again.
Yes.
For for people that are interested in working with you, um, I will like definitely leave your email. What do you want to tell people about how they can connect with you?
Awesome. Well, I'm actually where I lack in life, sometimes I'm not the techiest person, but then I've been actually, again, I just said that, trying not to speak those things into existence because I do create cute little memes sometimes. I'm like, sometimes like, wait, you are techie somewhat, you just don't like it. That's my thing. So that's why I created a homemade website before. It was quite a disaster. But anyways, that's a whole other story. So I'm definitely like actually working with someone right now that is gonna hopefully make me finish a kick-ass website. So I'll have that out soon. But my Facebook, Rebekah Renee, Angels 911. And my email is soulfire444 @gmail.com. And that's SOLEFIRE 444 @gmail.com.
So I'll make sure that I leave that in the description. I don't know if we'll keep this live up because we are going to be airing the full episode, but for whoever caught it, we're
Yeah.
probably able to catch it. Um, Angels 911, tell us a little bit about that real
Yeah.
quick.
So I have a friend that's a doctor in Ithaca, New York. I'll have to let her watch this. Um, she's also a light worker. Her passion's sound healing, actually. But anyways, she's completely, after working with her for several years, she came out of the spiritual closet as a mild mannered doctor to she channels and does all this other cool stuff. She's amazing, and also a sound healer. But anyways, her daughter had some problems and didn't know she wanted to be here, and she was very young, I think like 19 or 20 or something. And it was like, oh God, so along with she had other help, I'm sure, but we worked with her, and she had an amazing outcome. She is now happily married and successful, but at a time she did not want to be here and on the planet. So, and my friend said, why don't you start a reality show and call it Angels 911 for spiritual emergencies? Like when you like, because she felt there was a spiritual intervention for her daughter by working with her, and I was like, I took that name and ran. I'm like, that's awesome, and I'm like, and people again equate 9/11 with a 9/11, but it gives it a different meaning. But I was like, yeah, so it eventually that could be, someday at some sort of show, but that's where I got that name from. And because she had an emergency and we were like called 911 to me, like call me, and then we definitely were a part of her healing,
Well,
and
I
help.
it's for people. Like I always know that you're notice that you're like putting out prayers and energy, and you really are a very special lady.
Thank you. You are too. You guys are too. We're reflections of each other for sure.
Yeah.
I try, sometimes too, the energy will come in so strong at night. And it's like, if you think of yourself like a storage battery, like, oh God, this is for somebody else, not me. And it's like, because you get such a surplus and you're like, okay, maybe someone has hip pain or depression or something, and I can direct energy to them, I'm going to drain my battery for sleep. So it does have a sort of a part that can help me as well, but also help them. And then, just like tithing your gifts a little bit, like if you've been given a lot, why not give some of that out, with spiritual energy. A lot of people are like, oh, I have no energy. And I'm like, oh God, take mine. A lot of people are like, so and so stealing my energy. They're a psychic vampire. And I'm like, take mine away. I'm like, I got too much. I'm like, have it. It's like, so
Yeah.
yeah, and not just you can feel the collective, you can feel your soul family sometimes, like, oh, everyone's depressed today, even if they're soul family members you haven't talked to, especially of course your closest people, and obviously your kids. You feel your family members the most, but sometimes just you'll pick up on a member of your soul family and you'll find out later, like, oh, they'll pop into your mind and it was like, oh, yeah, I'm doing really horrible, and I like, you know, thank God you showed up when you did, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, we've been transcending a lot, but I also feel like the energy collectively is like a lot better than it's
Hmm.
been. I think we've all sort of had this tumultuous ups and downs and different, different things. But I generally really do feel like the collective energy is pretty good. Pretty good. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely feel like it's lighter. There are again like heavy moments, like I feel like it's better than it's been a few years ago, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and
Definitely.
have those heavy times. I mean, I know that I actually just went through one where it's like, but my clearing time is getting shorter. So where before
Yes.
I'd taken
You
like,
bounce back quicker. And sometimes too, those like dark nights of the soul, it's true, it's darkest before the dawn, and you're like, oh God, what is going on? And then you like get this epic new unfoldment of your gifts, or someone shows up that's incredible for you, and you're like, you're like, there has to be something good about to happen because I can't take this anymore. When you get to those places in life, and you're like, and then something shows up and you're like, yes, that silver lining is, yes, you're like, I had to go through this to get to here, but now you're like, whoa, this is so cool and incredible. Yeah, those moments are, they're the
yeah,
testing too. We get tested. It does show
initiate.
you what you're made of for sure. Initiated, yeah.
Yeah.
Initiated.
When are they going to stop? And they don't. They keep going,
Hmm.
just get different. But
Yes.
it's to say I do believe we probably wanted to come here um to experience what we're experiencing in lots of ways. Like once
Yeah.
the other side, um we wouldn't be be experiencing unity. We're all like one big bubble.
Yes.
There they go again, right? There
I
you go.
know. I'm like, laughing.
But it's like, at least here we have an opportunity, I think, to experience ourselves in different bodies and see the duality and
Yes. Yes.
like a bigger perspective. I think it's like really gives your soul an opportunity to really evolve and learn, you know.
Yes.
So and I think
Yeah.
make a difference for future generations and for
Yeah.
so I think it's
Yeah.
work. I'm quickly going to just go to the comments here because Gavin, I hope you're still here. He's so sweet, and I know he was interested in watching and catching this, so I'm glad that he was able to come in. I don't know if he's still here, but he did. Yeah, he's just talking about finding teachers after like a truth experience. So once you've actually like had sort of an experience of consciousness or what have you, it's hard to find teachers, which yeah, I would
It
agree.
is, or healers, because, and as your own vibration goes up, like I was just telling someone today, like it's very rare for me to have a good healer to work on me because my own vortex got so strong over all of this that I can't feel other people's energy so much. and when you can, you're like, oh yeah, this is so cool. I got someone that can work on me and I can actually have an experience, you know. Other than that, it's just kind of like, yeah, you're like the teacher, you know, you're like, or taking someone to the level that you might work at, which is, that's cool to watch that unfold too, to watch, to teach someone healing and then to see them grow and see them really go into their power. And you're like, wow, I was a part of that, you know. Um, but yeah, it is like teachers, yeah, especially when you like do leave your body and you get a flash of knowing, there's still some stuff I think that it still comes back to me or will come back to me that I probably couldn't articulate in human words, but that was experiential, that like if something didn't happen to someone else, how could they fully understand it, or if they didn't feel what you felt at that time. But but yeah, it definitely, I think I know what he means.
He says, I guess when we're talking about the lights that are still going behind you, he says that his scalp gets tingles when he's close to like divine light. So that's how he kind of understands that, which is really interesting. Yeah, he's talking about like upgrades. Oh, Dean is here. Dean is the medical Qigong practitioner. And I did have an amazing experience with you, Dean. Thank you. And I'm excited to tell people about that experience. He's an amazing healer as well. I almost felt like it was a very transcendental experience for me. Okay, well, oh, thank you. We're getting some thank yous, so that's always nice. Thank you.
Yay, thank you. That's fun.
Yeah, well, I guess, if anybody has any other questions, maybe we'll leave a few minutes just to, throw it out. But yeah, let's see. More comments, I think, than questions. Oh, shifting into Trinity. That's interesting. We think about that.
Wait, now tell me what happened. Hold on.
Gavin. He's saying shifting into Trinity.
That has a special meaning for me. I'll text you later about that. You're gonna that has several meanings for me. I don't want to say it online, but you're gonna like this, and you could send it to Gavin too. That is like,
Yeah,
okay.
I know I have felt yeah, I have a lot of feelings around that too. I'm excited to see what you have to say. Oh, he's saying from duality. Yeah.
Yeah, that had a special meaning for me. That, well, not only I work at part-time, I work for myself, but part-time at a spa in a town called Trinity, which is in Florida, 20
Oh,
minutes from me. But there's also, that word has like several a different, an interesting meaning for me. I'll have to tell you, and you'll have to Gavin friend me too or something. Yeah.
he is.
It's
He's
interesting.
on list, I think. But totally, Gavin. Yeah. I mean, but it's also that third energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
that third energy. So bringing in that third energy. Wow. Okay. Well, you know what? I am very hungry because
Me,
I
right.
I
Same.
have been going all day, but it's so nice to see you,
Same.
my love. Honestly,
Me
it was
too.
time with you. And yeah, let's do this again.
Let's do this again. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I would love to connect, and I will get everything kind of edited and stuff. And anyway, I'll still send that out on the 22nd. I don't know if, well, I'll talk to you offline. I'll ask you a couple of
Okay. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you guys to anyone who watched.
questions.
I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, and I appreciate you all and sending so much love and grace to everybody. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, lots of love. Have a great
All
night, everyone.
right.
Bye.
All right. Bye, you guys.